A root so sweet it was served at royal feasts across Europe for 2,000 years. Then it vanished. Not because it failed, not because it tasted bad. It disappeared because its shape didn't fit the industrial mold. This is skirret, a perennial root vegetable that laughs at winter frost, a plant that produces sweeter, denser roots than any carrot you've ever tasted. Yet walk into any supermarket today and you won't find it. The shelves are lined with orange imposters bred for convenience, not flavor. We have traded complexity for uniformity. We have traded nutrition for logistics. History tells us that Roman soldiers carried skirret roots as emergency rations. Medieval monks cultivated it in monastery gardens as medicine and sustenance. It survived the fall of Rome, the Black Death, and countless famines. But it could not survive the rise of industrial agriculture. The modern food system demands vegetables that stack neatly in boxes. Skirret refused to cooperate, so they buried it. This is not just a story about a forgotten plant. This is a story about what we allow corporations to erase from our collective memory. The revolution begins when you refuse to forget. Skirret produces clusters of thin, white roots instead of one thick taproot. Each root is sweet, crisp, and packed with complex carbohydrates. But those multiple roots created a problem for the industrial mind. They're harder to wash. They take longer to process. They don't photograph well in marketing campaigns, so the agricultural industry made a choice. They replaced skirret with carrots and parsnips. Not because those vegetables were superior, but because they were easier to sell. The betrayal was complete when seed catalogs stopped listing it, when agricultural universities stopped teaching about it, when grandmothers forgot to pass down the knowledge. Within 2 generations, a plant that fed empires became a botanical ghost. The machinery of convenience demanded soldiers, not poets. Skirret was a poet. It refused to conform. It insisted on being harvested by hand, appreciated slowly, prepared with care. In the race to feed billions through factory farming, we eliminated everything that required human attention. We traded relationship for efficiency. And efficiency is how you end up with supermarket carrots that are 90% water and 10% disappointment. Here's what makes skirret extraordinary beyond taste. It's a true perennial. Plant it once and harvest for years. While annual vegetables demand replanting every season, skirret establishes deep roots and returns stronger each year. It thrives in temperatures that would kill most garden crops. Frost doesn't damage it. Cold actually improves the flavor by converting starches to sugars. You can dig skirret roots in January from frozen ground, while your carrot bed is an impenetrable block of ice. The plant grows 3 to 4 feet tall with delicate white flowers that attract beneficial insects. Below ground, it produces 8 to 12 roots per plant, each 6 to 8 inches long. The roots have a distinct sweet, nutty flavor. Think of parsnip crossed with coconut, with a crisp texture that holds up to roasting. In terms of dry matter content, skirret outperforms modern carrots by 30 to 40%. More nutrition per bite, more flavor per root, more resilience per plant. Nature designed this as a survival food for humans living in cold climates. Industrial agriculture looked at that gift and said, "Too complicated." The distinction isn't botanical, it's economic. Skirret's cultivation dates back at least 2,000 years. The Romans grew it extensively and called it cicer. Pliny the Elder wrote about it in his Natural History. Emperor Tiberius demanded annual tributes of skirret roots from Germanic territories, valuing them more than grain. Medieval European gardens always included a skirret patch. It was considered essential medicine for winter ailments. Monasteries relied on it during Lent when meat was forbidden. The roots provided enough calories and sweetness to sustain monks through fasting periods. By the 1600s, English herbalist John Gerard praised it as the most pleasant and wholesome of all roots. Colonial Americans brought skirret seeds to the New World. Thomas Jefferson grew it at Monticello. But by the 1800s, the agricultural revolution was underway. Seed companies wanted crops that scaled easily. Skirret's complex root structure made it unmarketable in the new system. Within 50 years, it vanished from commerce. Today, you can only find it in a handful of heritage seed banks and among obsessive gardeners who refuse to let history die. The plant that sustained civilizations became a curiosity. Let's talk about what you actually taste when you bite into a fresh skirret root. First, there's immediate sweetness, not the bland, watery sweet of a supermarket carrot. This is complex sugar. It has depth. The flavor evolves as you chew. You get nutty undertones, a hint of coconut. Some describe it as parsnip without the aggressive earthiness. The texture is firm and crisp when raw, perfect for winter salads. When roasted, skirret caramelizes beautifully. The sugars concentrate and create a golden crust. The inside becomes tender and almost creamy. Medieval cooks boiled the roots and served them with butter. Victorian recipes suggest making skirret fritters with eggs and breadcrumbs. You can grate raw skirret into slaws. You can pickle it like you would pickle carrots. The roots store well in cool cellars for months. But here's the thing. No modern vegetable tastes like this, because modern vegetables weren't selected for flavor. They were selected for shipping distance, shelf life, and visual uniformity. Skirret was selected by humans who cared about eating, not selling. The difference is in your mouth within seconds. Growing skirret is almost embarrassingly easy if you reject industrial gardening logic. Start with root divisions or seeds. Plant in spring in any reasonable soil. It prefers moisture but tolerates drought once established. It doesn't need fertilizer if your soil has basic organic matter. It has no significant pest problems, no diseases that will wipe out your crop. It just grows. By fall, you have harvestable roots. But here's the key. You don't have to harvest them all. Leave some in the ground. They'll overwinter perfectly. Dig them as needed throughout winter and early spring. Each plant you leave will grow back bigger the next year. This is perennial abundance. This is food security that doesn't demand annual labor. Compare that to carrots. Plant seeds every spring. Thin seedlings. Weed constantly. Harvest everything before frost or they rot. Fight carrot rust fly. Deal with forking roots in compacted soil. Then buy more seeds and start over. Skirret says, plant me once, I'll feed you for 5 years. The system can't sell you seeds every year if you're growing perennials. That's why they buried it. Modern carrots are bred for color and shape. Nutrition is secondary. A typical supermarket carrot contains roughly 88% water. The remaining 12% includes some beta-carotene and fiber. That's it. Skirret roots contain approximately 60 to 65% water. The remaining 40% is concentrated carbohydrates, fiber, and minerals. Weight for weight, skirret delivers over 3 times the caloric density of modern carrots. It's a real food. In terms of mineral content, skirret roots are particularly rich in potassium and iron. The complex carbohydrates provide sustained energy rather than quick sugar spikes. The fiber content supports gut health. Traditional medicine used skirret to treat urinary issues and digestive complaints. Modern research is nearly non-existent because there's no commercial interest, no patents to file, no supplements to sell. But gardeners who grow and eat skirret report something interesting. They feel satisfied. They don't crave snacks an hour later. The body recognizes real nutrition. It's the difference between drinking water and drinking colored water with sugar. One is substance, the other is performance art. You need to recognize skirret to grow it or forage for escaped garden plants. The plant grows in clumps, reaching 3 to 4 feet tall. Leaves are compound and pinnate, similar to celery leaves but more delicate. In midsummer, it produces umbrella-shaped flower clusters. small white flowers, very attractive to beneficial wasps and hoverflies. The stems are hollow and slightly aromatic when crushed. Below ground is where the magic happens. The root crown sits just below the soil surface. From it emerge multiple white roots. Each root is pencil-thick to finger-thick, 6 to 10 inches long. The roots are smooth and clean white, not fuzzy like parsnips. The flesh is pure white throughout, no woody core. When you break a fresh root, it snaps cleanly. Juice beads on the surface. That's the sugar content. In spring, new shoots emerge from the crown. This is when you can divide plants to expand your patch. The plant is sometimes confused with water parsnip or other Apiaceae family members. But Skirret's cultivated history and distinct clustered roots make it identifiable. If in doubt, taste a tiny piece. That sweetness is unmistakable. Medieval recipe books contain numerous skirret preparations. The simplest is boiling the roots until tender and serving them with butter and salt. This method lets the natural sweetness shine. Victorian cooks made skirret pies by layering sliced roots with honey and spices. Some recipes suggest roasting skirret alongside meat. The roots absorb flavors beautifully. You can also make skirret soup. Simmer the roots with leeks and cream. The result is sweet and velvety. For modern applications, try grating raw skirret into winter salads. It adds crunch and sweetness without dressing. You can spiralize it like zucchini. Sauté it quickly in butter with garlic. Roast it at high heat until caramelized. The sugars will turn golden brown and crispy. Some experimental cooks have made skirret chips by slicing roots thin and baking them. The key is using fresh roots. The flavor degrades if roots sit around too long after harvest. That's another reason the industrial system rejected it. Skirret demands immediacy. It rewards the gardener who walks outside, digs roots, and cooks them within an hour. That relationship between soil and table is exactly what convenience culture tried to eliminate. Let's examine the economics of why skirret disappeared. Industrial agriculture operates on massive scale. A carrot farm can plant 5 acres with mechanical seeders. Harvest with machines that pull, wash, and sort. Pack everything in plastic bags within hours. Ship to distribution centers. Skirret doesn't mechanize well. The multiple roots require hand digging. Each plant needs individual attention. Washing those thin roots takes time. They don't stack neatly in boxes. The business model collapses. But this analysis assumes that efficiency is the goal. What if the goal is flavor? What if the goal is nutrition? What if the goal is perennial food security? Suddenly, skirret's labor-intensive nature becomes a feature, not a bug. You're not managing industrial farmland. You're managing a permanent food forest. The inefficiency of hand harvesting means you're actually touching your food. You're maintaining a relationship with what sustains you. Corporations can't profit from that relationship. They can't patent skirret. They can't genetically modify it and sell licenses. So they convinced everyone it's obsolete. They wrote it out of textbooks. They stopped breeding programs. They made sure your grandmother forgot the name. That's not market forces. That's cultural engineering. Here's something beautiful about skirret biology. Cold temperatures trigger an enzymatic process that converts starches to sugars. The plant does this to prevent ice crystal formation in its cells. The sugar acts as antifreeze. For the gardener, this means frost-touched skirret roots taste sweeter than roots harvested in autumn. You're literally harvesting candy from frozen ground. This is evolutionary genius. The plant evolved in temperate zones with hard winters. It adapted to remain edible throughout the cold months when humans needed calories most. Compare this to modern vegetables. Lettuce turns to mush at first frost. Tomatoes die at 32 degrees. Even cold hardy crops like kale get damaged below 20 degrees. Skirret handles 0 degrees Fahrenheit without protection. You can mulch the beds if you want easier digging. but the roots themselves are fine. This winter hardiness made skirret essential in pre-industrial Europe. During the Little Ice Age from 1300 to 1850, winters were brutal. Crops failed. Famines were common. But perennial roots like skirret kept people alive. They could dig food from December through March. That survival trait should make skirret precious in modern gardens. Instead, we've forgotten it exists. Growing skirret is an act of resistance against the cult of convenience. You're declaring that your relationship with food matters more than supply chain logistics. You're saying that flavor and nutrition outweigh plastic-packaged uniformity. This is not nostalgia. This is pragmatism. Industrial agriculture is fragile. It depends on cheap fuel, global shipping, and chemical inputs. A single supply chain disruption means empty shelves. Perennial gardens are resilient. They produce food without annual inputs. They improve soil instead of depleting it. They create habitat for beneficial insects and soil life. A skirret patch is a middle finger to the idea that you need corporations to eat well. It's proof that your ancestors knew things that modern agricultural science forgot. The system wants you dependent. It wants you buying seeds every spring and vegetables every week. Perennial crops make you dangerous. They make you self-sufficient. That's why seed companies don't promote them. That's why grocery stores don't stock them. That's why skirret became a ghost. But ghosts can be resurrected. Every gardener who plants skirret is restoring a piece of stolen heritage. Every meal made from these roots is a small rebellion. The revolution is not televised. It's harvested. Skirret seeds are available from heritage seed companies and specialty nurseries. Root divisions are the fastest way to establish plants. Find a gardener who grows it and ask for a division. Start small. Plant 3 roots. Let them establish. Harvest some. Let some regrow. Within 3 years, you'll have a permanent food source that asks almost nothing of you. This is how food sovereignty begins, not with complex systems, not with expensive infrastructure, with a simple choice to grow what was deliberately forgotten. The soil remembers even if we don't.